All right, today we're gonna talk about something known as the male loneliness epidemic. From my understanding, it's pretty much in today's society, there's a lot of men that feel like they're operating in the world alone. Um, Not saying that's always a bad thing, but it's more so a discussion about not having friend groups or like groups that they can share similar ideas with. So it's almost synonymous with men going their own way. Um, we're gonna dive into this, and I'm just give my intake on whether this is a bad thing, a good thing, and we just go from there. Let's see what they're talking about.
Men are facing a big crisis right now. And whether we like to admit it or not, society has created millions of lonely and addicted men. There's a lot of discussion on the internet about male loneliness and how
Let's start here. First of all, he must have had a wild night. Like he got socks on the floor, shirt, pants. Man, his laptop is crazy. I don't know. His desktop is like in the desk, but it is the desk. Some wild drawing going on. Let's go.
it is at an all-time high, with millions of opinions about it. So, what is causing this crisis to happen? If you identify as male, this video might give you some insights. As we make our way through this video, even if you don't identify as male, consider your father, brother, partner, and friends. If you've ever wondered why they act the way they do, we hope this video in the comment section will give you some insight. So is there a rise in male loneliness? And where is it coming from? Let's find out.
Hey, before we find out, I just wanted to say, why everybody got butterflies on the back of their head?
Disclaimer, this is not to say that only men experience loneliness and that women do not, nor to say one's experience is worse than the other. The truth is, both men and women can struggle with loneliness, but the reasons and ways they experience it can vary. This
Exactly.
video focuses on male loneliness, and we will cover female loneliness in another video. Also, the views expressed here are based on personal opinions and experiences and may not reflect everyone's perspective. Please consider them as one viewpoint among many. Defining loneliness. What makes a person lonely? It really depends on who you ask. According to a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, men and women.
So before you get into that, my definition, what makes a person lonely? If you spend more time with yourself, physically with yourself, than engage with others, then you're more lonely than you're not. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing to move alone, but to feel lonely, I think it kind of means that you actually have a negative outlook on being alone. So you feel lonely. It's almost like being homesick. Some people run away from home and don't look back. They're not homesick. They were sick of home. You see the difference? Let's see what they're talking about.
Women define loneliness differently. For men, loneliness meant a lack of groups, whether that's a group of friends or a community to be part of. For women, loneliness was more dependent in their dyadic relationships with romantic partners.
They want a man.
That doesn't mean that men don't feel lonely when they don't have a romantic relationship. What this tells us is that when men report loneliness, it shouldn't be disregarded as romantic loneliness, but rather a lack of people and support in numerous areas.
As a man, you're going to realize there's always going to be a lack of people and support in all areas. Even people who you feel like should support you or be a part of that working group, oftentimes are not going to be there. I feel like it's more prominent when it comes to the male sex due to our inherent nature of being apex predators, being alpha, or being the one that has to go out there and get it. It's almost just assumed that you have to be able to function naturally alone. You shouldn't need a team of other individuals to come together to help you reach what you're trying to reach. And that starts to foster into every aspect of your life, whether it's your work, whether it's your family, whether it's your social groups. Oftentimes, you'll see a bunch of men who are really individuals going out as a group, and even within the group, they're moving individually. Not too many other male species move in a group, except like wolves and hyenas. And, we don't walk on all fours, so let's see what they talk about.
Including friendship and even family. So as we make our way through this video, think of the men in your life. Where is all of this loneliness coming from? And why men? Researchers Dr. Ferdy Botha and Dr. Marley Bauer found numerous causes or contributors to male loneliness. Their article published in BMC Public Health listed increased social isolation, romantic partnership disillusion, having a long-term disability, and stronger beliefs that men should be the breadwinners of the household as features that were associated with increased loneliness.
Buddy in that top left corner is going crazy. I don't know what he doing, but I see a sword. I don't know if he playing like World of Warcraft or like Dungeons and Dragon. I don't know. Maybe Fallout 3, but whatever he playing, he going crazy. Then we got the next picture. It looks like a couple going to bed. And like Neil said, I don't want you to go to bed mad at me. That can add to like levels of loneliness. Obviously, buddies at work, we all been there. Feel like you want to put out your hair. He still got hair to pull, which is good. He got a nice tie on too. I wonder how you learn how to tie that tie. It's a nice tie. And then bottom right, he got a family of 7, including himself. You are not alone. I am here with you. Word to Michael Jackson. Let's go.
Yes. They also mentioned something that is extremely important, yet increasingly rare amongst younger men: job security. Job security can give us hope for our relationships, money to support these relationships, and even a means to build new relationships.
Money to support these relationships. That's date nights, that's gifts. They got the heartburn. It's Valentine's Day, obviously. You got to get yourself together. She wants you to smell like something. She wants you to look like something. So if you don't know how to cut your own hair, you got to pay for haircuts. And that's a whole nother topic, but they definitely raising the prices on haircuts. It's definitely inflation rates going through the roof. I don't know what kind of laptop he got. Mac, what was that, Leaf? That's a brand.
It is also an important contributor to the positive self-image.
He need to tuck his top.
Without a stable job and a steady income, how could they even afford to see their friends or take someone out on dates? Without a salary and a way to contribute to society, a man calls his own value into question. Loneliness isn't gendered, but men and women do face different challenges when it comes to loneliness. Men struggle to express their loneliness. Many men would talk about the weather or admit to other struggles like addiction.
Yeah, I know how they go. Somebody be like, "You good?" You be like, "Yeah, I'm good." Yeah. He ain't good.
Rather than admitting to being lonely. If you've seen a lot of videos or memes about male loneliness, you might think that men actually talk about their loneliness a lot. It's important to remember that social media is not real life, and expressing anguish anonymously on the internet does nothing to ease it. In an effort to feel seen and heard, men can gravitate towards manosphere internet personalities. This isn't always helpful because these personalities are often limited to parroting the struggles of lonely men, rather than providing practical help. Romanticizing loneliness. With a perceived rise in male loneliness, there has also been a rise in media that reflects this change. Movies like Her and Blade Runner 2049 are cultural touchstones for how
I never seen these movies. Maybe I should go check them out. Her and Blade Runner 2049. They don't like they be related. They got guns over there. Is that Russell Crowe? Who's that? That's William Shatner. Who's that? They got from Star Trek? I don't know. Y'all let me know. Let's go.
Some men see themselves. The protagonists in these films are deeply lonely men who try to embrace their emotions but can only share these feelings with manufactured love interests. To some men, that might sound extremely familiar. Even before the pandemic trapped everyone indoors, the computer was a lot of men's only hope for connection. Porn replaced sex, and video games replaced real human interaction.
All right. Porn replaced sex. I don't. This is my take on that. So coming up, porn was the introduction to sex. We had like desktop computers, the family shared. You got to make sure you delete your cache, all that kind of stuff. But you were introduced to that well before you were introduced to sex. Um, and you were introduced to sex young, oftentimes in some cases. So the idea that porn itself replaced sex, I don't know if I agree with that one. I think porn's a gateway drug to sex. Um, Oftentimes you don't have that conversation with your family members, and specifically your parental family members don't really break down and have that conversation with you. As far as video games definitely help you live vicariously through the characters in the game. Grand Theft Auto, instance, made everybody want to run around and steal cars and run from the police and get 5 stars, right? No, but it did help you, you know, live in this world that was pretty much based off your actions and moves, but you can do whatever you wanted to do seemingly without consequence, besides you dying, getting wasted, and then waking up in the hospital $5,000 less. And why he swinging his bat at MK on a computer? That's crazy.
This is what Ivy League universities you can get into with a 3.6 GPA.
90% of students with a 4.0 plus GPA.
With movies and TV shows centering around people who long for true interaction, that pain seemed to mean something. Now men see these romanticized versions of loneliness not only as something they relate to, but as something they can use. Sometimes this turns into motivation,
You going
fuel
crazy.
for the gym, or other methods of self-improvement. For other men, loneliness only makes them feel cast out and rejected, not only by potential romantic partners, but by society as a whole. Technology. We all want different things in life, but technology like social media can project an ideal of success that we all feel like we should meet. For many men, part of being successful is having someone they adore by their side.
For sure.
But beyond that, what do men want out of relationships, and how does technology affect that? The relationship between men and women has changed. Men feel that DMs and Tinder aren't just the easiest way to try to win the affection of women, but also the only way.
Dating apps essentially is what he's getting at. DMs and Tinder are the only way to win the affection of women. If you actually just take it back to the stone ages of relationships and dating, you probably have a better chance of just approaching a woman in real life, being yourself, letting her know your intent. Don't be disingenuous and try to play the friend zone. You'll get stuck there. It's like the sunken place. He was lucky to get out. Just let your intent be known and go from there. This whole jumping into the DMs and using dating apps as your primary means of trying to build a connection with someone, you have to look at it like this. If you were a fisherman and dating apps was the ocean and you're just casting your single line out there, you have the possibility of catching something, but you also got to deal with the current of the ocean. And do you even know what part of the ocean holds what kind of fish? That's your life when you're dealing with dating apps. Unless you're a big fisherman or somebody that has one of those profiles or has that kind of demeanor that you have a wide net that can catch all kind of crustaceans, your chances are going to be low when you're out there with your single fishing rod and your little worm trying to catch a great shark, great white. Let's go.
Men struggle to meet and court women because the channels to do so are extremely competitive. The unfortunate truth is that the best times to meet women and form relationships are when you're young, in high school or university.
Shout out to Anton Daniels. He always says this. He says, the man or woman you're supposed to be with, oftentimes you met them when you were younger. And as he just said, high school, university. And even at the university, you're a little bit older at university. You're anywhere from the ages of 18 to 21 plus. But more times than not, the person who cared about you for who you were before you reach puberty, before you learn how to lay your edges, you learn how to fade your hair, and before you grew your dreadlocks out, was probably somebody you met when you were in your younger ages. That's probably the person you should have been with. Your family members may even know them because you're probably from the same community or the same town, but hey, you want to get flued out, so you know, fly on.
Past that point, it becomes more difficult. Male loneliness is on the rise because outside of high school and university, and the experiences associated with those periods of life, we have to rely on technology to meet people. This creates the reality we find ourselves in. Men competing with other men in a competition that women don't even realize they're judging. So, as our social spaces continue to be replaced with online convenience, men and women will only become more lonely. The sense of competition between men is on a global scale thanks to social media. A
If I catch
2024
any of
study found that
y'all
it affects men.
running with a bouquet of flowers to give to one woman and you're racing the next man to give these flowers to this woman, you have to ask yourself, how y'all even that close in interaction with that woman to where y'all rushing to give her bouquets? But if that's what y'all want to do, make sure you tie your shoes because you don't want to regret it. Like, I slipped because I tripped over my shoestring, you know?
And differently than women. Researchers found that problematic Instagram use is directly associated with general anxiety, social anxiety, and loneliness. For men, social media doesn't remind you that you should be competing. For those who have struggled to maintain friendships, relationships, or close ties with family, it can feel like social media is yelling, "You're losing," every time you log on. Loneliness is a trap. Is it even okay for men to be lonely? Of course it is. But some men don't realize that. A lot of men struggle to admit that they're lonely. For some men, loneliness and the depression that often accompanies it are flaws in their masculinity. Part of the masculine image is being a valuable partner or a sought-after individual. If you aren't achieving that, it can feel like you're failing or missing out on a vital part of life. This can harm your mental health, pushing you further out towards the fringes of society if you fall down the wrong rabbit holes. Communities like the incel community have formed around this exact process. Unfortunately,
So some of y'all don't know, the incel community is a community of people who are inadvertently celibate. Layman's term, mean they can't get a woman or get a girl or get sex. That's what it essentially means. So what they do is they kind of come together and express these feelings of frustration as a whole. And it's for various reasons. You could be too short. You could be disabled. You could be just not understand that women, although they are human, they're a different species of human. Like, they're a different strand of human. They're woman. You're a man. So the thought process isn't the same. What drives them isn't the same. What moves them isn't the same. And oftentimes incels don't understand that. They just think women are either exactly the same as men, or they think that women are this being that if you just put in this magic code, they're going to open up and everything's going to work out great. It's not the way it works. Okay. A lot of male loneliness is contributed to the inability to have a partner of the opposite sex, right? And that leads to them grouping with others who also go through that similar issue. And you would think that would solve the male loneliness because now it's a group of people who have the same mindset, but it doesn't. It actually expands upon it because all you're doing is adding more fuel to the flame and explaining of how you can't overcome your loneliness due to your inability to attract the opposite sex. Yeah, step your game up.
despite being a community based on the issue of male loneliness, the incel community provides nothing to heal male loneliness.
I just
By
said that.
becoming resentful of society and feeling cheated by your circumstances, your loneliness can become exacerbated by these negative feelings and emotions, rather than alleviating them. In other words, Blaming others and becoming resentful will only make things worse. How it affects everyone.
All right.
If you aren't a man, you might have wondered how all this.
So check this out. So I'm just gonna throw this in here, the caveat at the end. As far as male loneliness, you can have a group of men that you associate with. Now, notice I use the word associate and not a group of men that you're friends with. Oftentimes, men associate with other men for a variety of reasons. Maybe you're the handsome guy in the group and you're not as handsome male friends have you hang out with them in order to attract the more attractive women to come to your group. You know, once you have a group, like if it's 3 women, 3 men, it's almost like, you know, everybody has to pair up in order to make the dual mission a success. It's not often that your friends that you hang out with in like club settings, restaurant settings, bar settings are also the same friends that you hang out with in the gym or at work or in any professional setting or anything dealing with actual problems. You usually compartmentalize to a certain section, meaning this is my friends I go to the club with. These are my friends I go play basketball with. These are my friends that I go to the restaurant with to watch the Sunday football game or things like that. So you have to be aware of that and understand where you fit in that friend group. You could be the guy that's handsome and they bring you around to draw the attention of the beautiful women. But you could also be the guy who's not as handsome and they bring you around to up their level of handsomeness to the beautiful women. So just take a real good look in the mirror and your friend group and try to, you know, decipher where you fit in with that. All right. Male loneliness in itself isn't a problem unless you feel like being lonely or being alone is a problem. All right. Again, hyenas and wolves run in packs. Male lions don't. Kings of kingdoms don't run in packs. All right. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to be a king of a kingdom? Do you want to be a male lion, king of the jungle? Or do you want to be a hyena or a wolf and running in a pack? And your survival is primarily based on your ability to run in a pack and survive in a pack. And even then, there's usually an alpha within the pack that very much well could survive on their own. All right. So again, male loneliness isn't a problem unless you make it a problem. Don't be afraid to be alone. Sometimes being alone is the best thing you can do for yourself. Again, this is Ced-Rich, and this is the Cardi Black Edition.
This affects you. Every